yet or not, but I am having all kind of problems with technical difficulties tonight. I am trying something new with my phone to use my phone as my camera, and my phone is basically has said, "Screw you, Rob. We don't want you to use us as the camera. We prefer for you to look stupid on it. But if life gives you lemons, make lemonade." I'm hoping you guys can at least hear me. Let's try something a little different here. Source. There we go. All right, cool. So let's change the mode up a little bit. This is a bad night to try to figure this out the night before. I'm not even sure y'all can hear me because I'm using a different device tonight. I'm using this thing, and we're gonna see if this allows me to do some sound effects. Yeah, yeah. I was able to get myself on the internet. Yeah, I'm on the internet. I said I'm on the internet. All right, this is crazy. All right, I'm pretty sure like nobody is watching, so this is definitely an experiment for me. I invited a few people to tap in, and we'll see if they come in or not. I doubt if they will, but while I'm on here, let me see if I can actually see myself on YouTube as well. Now, I do have a show sort of planned for you guys tonight, but I was hoping to depend on my co-host and invitees to help me out with it a little bit. Let's see. I didn't have to verify myself like 25 times on my computer, so I know ain't nobody gonna be able to hack me, man. I can't. I had to verify myself so many times. Hey, it looks like I am on. Oh, no wonder. I think what I did, guys, I created the stream twice, and I did not mean to do that. But it looks like I am streaming now. So, like I said, I hope you guys can hear me. Um, I think that was a kiss. Uh, I like this little thing that I got. It makes me feel like I'm funny because I can say anything. Like, and then the pig tongue came out. But I can give myself like laughter, which is like really cool. Laughter is the uh, cure for anything that ails you. So, what is our topic for tonight? Well, this is my anniversary show for Are You Serious? And like I said, I'm trying some different stuff tonight. I am actually trying to stream using my phone and stream using a new microphone and sound system that I bought myself. So hopefully this sounds pretty good. I'm gonna see if I can show you guys my little setup here. Really simple, you know, really, really basic. Um, I need to get a holder for my phone because I'm not used to having my phone as the camera. Ooh, maybe if I do this. How about this? It don't work. Okay. So yeah, I need to probably look into getting myself a much better bracket or brace for my phone. Uh, and StreamYard is still trying to help me. If you guys use StreamYard, let me know what your experience has been with it. I heard there's some other different streaming services that are like better now or cheaper or whatever. So I'm gonna keep rocking Reddit because I have been using it for like quite a while now. I used it for my little trailer reviews and everything like that. Um, so far so good. Let me switch this microphone one more time. All right. This little microphone hookup is like really cool. It makes me feel like I'm on a radio or something. Um, because it got like the mic and a little screen thing in front of it, so I feel really good about that. So, what do we want to talk about tonight? Now, this is like I said, my anniversary show of Are You Serious? And with Are You Serious? The whole reason I started it was I wanted to give comedians a way that they could, have some fun and be funny and tell jokes and stuff on the internet without it having to be out on the stage, right? Like everybody was talking about, crowd work going viral. And how about your podcast appearances going viral? Why can't we do that? Because you basically are being impromptu and off the top of your head and everything like that. So I figured, I'll come up with some crazy topics. I started off with a lot of different like versus topics, like Christmas versus Thanksgiving, which was the better holiday. Um, Star Trek versus Star Wars. Um, I think we did Dad Bod versus Fitbod, which is really funny. Go check that show out. I had all females on that one, telling us what body type the females prefer, and we did a bunch of them. We did something about Hulk Hogan. We did something about Republican Democrats. So we did like some serious ones too, and like all of them are pretty good. But I'll be honest with you, I kind of started losing a little bit of energy around September when I was competing for World Series of Comedy. It just was too many things on the fire for me, too many irons in the fire, and I wasn't able to like really focus on this like I wanted to. So the last couple of shows have been kind of janky, and I am putting a call to action out there for all comics because I don't want to stop doing this. I think it's a lot of fun, and I think it's gives comics something else to do besides hanging out at open mics, trying jokes and stuff like that. This is a way that you can figure out how to be funny, kind of off the cuff and impromptu. So if you want to figure that out, come on, are you serious? And let's debate some goofy stuff. I planned on doing stuff like basketball versus football, which is better versus baseball. I mean, there ain't no reason why we can't do three different things. Um, I planned on doing debate shows about whether or not we should play WNBA players. I hate that I didn't do that one because I think that one would have went viral. Because I got some opinions about it, and I know a lot of you guys do too. But tonight's show was supposed to be about the goats of comedy. Um, if most of you guys, if you comedy fans, know that Eddie Murphy's autobiography thing was just released on Netflix, um, and it's a really good autobiography. Don't get me wrong. It's great. It posed Eddie in a very high light. We learned some stuff about him that we didn't know. Like I didn't know he wasn't raised by a stepdad versus his biological dad. Like his his biological dad kind of bounced, and stepdad stepped in and kind of taught him some stuff about like boxing and stuff like that. It was like a lot of cool information that I kind of knew about Eddie, but I never really heard it from his own mouth. So. Um, and Eddie is definitely considered a goat of comedy, right? But he hasn't done a ton of stand up. So I wanted to have this debate tonight because when we talk about the goats of stand up comedy, who is like a true goat of just doing stand up? right? Like Eddie is a goat of doing comedy, right? Because he has like two amazing comedy specials. I'm gonna even put his comedy album that he made before he was famous in there too, because that's the one where he has the anybody ever been hit by a car bit and ever put cologne on your penis jokes and grandma, it's cold, baby. Like it's a lot of good jokes on that very first tape. If you ever get a chance to see it, it just wasn't released as a video, But if you ever get the chance to see that or hear that first tape, it's absolutely crazy. It's probably my favorite over Delirious and Raw. Um, but is he a goat of stand up comedy? You know what I mean? Like two great specials, but what else is out there stand up comedy wise? Um, if you compare that to Kevin Hart, I think Kevin Hart's new special that I think came out today, Monday the 24th. I think it came out today. I think that is his either ninth or 10th comedy special, something like that. Or somebody like Cat Williams, who I believe is on like special 13 or 14. Like, and when you talk about the goats of stand up comedy, is it fair to be that nitpicky about whether or not you're doing stand up? Or is it okay to say, well, he did stand up, but he went on to owe so much else, and he's still a goat of stand up comedy, you know? So I wanted to have a discussion about whether or not that's valid to consider somebody that had an amazing short career on the stage and then went on to do other things versus somebody that their whole comedy career has been on the stage. Like, who's a true goat? You know what I mean? Like, um, and talk about errors too, because there's different errors. Everybody pretty much holds Richard Pryor up as a goat, and he's definitely my goat. To me, he's my number one on the list because not only did he do a ton of comedy specials, but he did a ton of TV, a ton of movies, all kind of like comedy things. His guest show appearances are legendary. So I put Richard Pryor as my personal all-time goat. Um, but Eddie, was a little bit reclusive. A ton of movies, but he went away from like that cutting edge Eddie and got came back more family friendly. Even the stuff that he's done recently has been kind of mild. You know what I mean? I watched the Hijack movie with him and Pete Davidson and Kiki Palmer, and I thought that was like really mild. I was like, don't get me wrong, it was entertaining, it was funny, but it was almost like it was Pete Davidson's movie. Um, and don't get me wrong, I think they all are co-stars in the movie or whatever. But I felt like Eddie just didn't have a lot to do in that movie. He was like the straight man, and Pete Davidson was the funny dude. Like in 48 Hours, Nick Nolte is a straight man, and Eddie is the funny dude, like that classic sort of comedy setup. And with that being the case, I was like, is that even really a Eddie Murphy movie? you know? Uh, let's see. I apologize. I'm pausing here for a second, but the thing is saying something about a comment, but I'm not seeing a comment come up. Let me just make sure. All right, if you added a comment, I apologize, but it's like my screen is telling me I have a comment, but I'm not seeing the comment. So go ahead and comment, and I will reply to it, I guess. But I am not seeing the comment in my setup the way I have it now. But no biggie, like I said, this is kind of like the last one I'm doing in this format anyway. Um, my dog wants some attention. Hold on a second. Come here, baby. All right. If y'all guys don't, gonna kick my earphones out my ear. Can you please let me have my headphones back, baby? Thank you, sweetie. Thank you. All right. So I didn't know. I don't know if she wanted to get on the internet or if she want the rest of the sandwich I was eating. Dogs, guys. I think she probably just want the rest of the sandwich I was eating. Say hi to the people on in the internet. Say hi to the people in the internet. She's like, what the internet? Can I eat it? No, you can't eat the internet, baby. You'll get sick. It's a lot of foul stuff on the internet. But like I said, Eddie is he really a goat of stand up comedy? And I want to have that debate tonight. I think it's debatable. I think Cat Williams even brought that up. I think it was Cat because he always bringing up controversial stuff. He's like, is Eddie Murphy, really a go to stand up comedy? Because he really only has like two classic specials that people kind of refer to. Or how about somebody whose career was short? All right, don't come up here hawking and spitting. You heard a hawk to a girl. I got hawk to a dog over here. Uh, well, maybe I shouldn't put that out there. All right, baby, you got to get down if you're gonna be up here hawking and spitting. You okay? All right. Thank you for the love. You go ahead and get down. All right. Um, what was I saying? Oh, did she pull my headphones out my ear again? Can you stop pulling my headphones out my ear? She like I want some attention. Um, but like I was saying, you know, uh, there's a lot of comedians out there that have way more stand-up specials, and I was talking about comedians whose career ended early. Like a lot of people love Patrice O'Neal. I love Patrice O'Neal. I think he influenced a lot of people. Um, but I guess because of health issues, I think it was health issues that took him out. His career was cut short. Would he have been a GOAT? Who knows? Ralphie May. There's so many people that you could say who career was cut short with either health issues or just passing early, or people who career got started late. Like a lot of people consider Bernie Mac a comedy GOAT. But can you name me the Bernie Mac special that he had? He was a king of comedy, and the king of comedy specials are classics. But he never. I think I want to say he never had his own comedy special. The Def Jam appearances are classic. Um, the Kings of Comedy stuff is classic. Movies, TV shows. He checks a lot of the boxes, but no stand-up specials of his own. So is he really a stand-up goat? You know what I mean? Funny, but that catalog is not there. And the reason I even bring that up is because if we were talking about rap and somebody came out with a cold rap album or had a really hot guest appearance on a rap album, but you never heard from him again, but you was like, man, that was a great guest appearance that one guy did. Would you consider him a goat? Like same thing in football. If a guy comes in and has an amazing game, like let's say a receiver comes in and he catches 16 passes, 4 touchdowns, runs back a kickoff. Everybody's like, "Oh wow, that he's a goat." Like, is he a goat because he really only played like one game or one season? So we've had you know stuff like that in other categories, and we don't necessarily call those guys goats, but in comedy, for some reason, we do. You know, and I kind of get it, and I kind of don't. I feel like there's a way to say that he was a very good player, just to use the analogy again, but not necessarily a GOAT. You know what I mean? So, who are the people that people consider GOATs right now? Well, if you ask a lot of people for their Mount Rushmore, especially black comics, I'm going to deal with black comics first because that's the realm I'm mostly in. Of course, people will say, Eddie and Richard. A lot of people will put Bill Cosby in there. I don't know if when we talk about body of work, Bill Cosby is definitely there. I don't know how many stand-up albums he made. I probably should have looked that up before the show, but if you want to know, drop it in the comments or something, and I'll post how many albums he's done. But I think it's safe to say Bill Cosby is a comedy goat, and should probably be on a Mount Rushmore. Red Fox, I I don't know because of how many specials he's done. I know he did a lot of stand-up albums. I actually have a couple that I have saved in my YouTube comedy, bank that I listen to a couple of Red Fox albums. Not necessarily classic albums, you know what I mean? I know he's done um, some TV experiences and stuff like that. And Red Fox is definitely a comedy goat, but is he a stand-up comedy goat? You know what I mean? So I don't know. I think it's a fair point to bring up when if we're trying to be specific about just stand up. Um, I think you could probably put Dave Chappelle in there because Dave doesn't do a lot of movies. He doesn't do a lot of TV. He just does stand up. And I think that's the way he wants it. He's made a shitload of money just doing stand up, and he's like, Hey, I got all this money. Why do I want to do a movie and have that bomb? So uh, I like Dave as a comedy goat. Even though I feel like some of the stuff he does in comedy is way different. Dave has had like two different careers. Okay, he had career before Dave Chappelle's show, where he was a little bit more of a silly comedy, yeah, silly comic, and a career after Dave Chappelle's show, where he's more like a social rebel and a anti-establishment, comedian. Turn this light on just in case. I think that makes things better. Um, so I think there's an argument to be made that Dave is actually two different comedians. His stuff before the Dave Chappelle show um was very just kind of silly. Yeah. Uh, what if a baby had a grenade? Like whatever. It was very sort of kind of silly kind of comedy. It wasn't a lot of necessarily social commentary. It was some, but it's not like it is now, where when you're going to see Dave, you're going to hear some political shit. You're going to hear, some social shit. You probably going to hear something about trans. you know, I just can't stop making jokes about these motherfuckers, right? Like, and that's his whole, deal with that. And, I think body of work wise, you can consider him a go to comedy. I just don't know, um, if that's, your criteria. So what do we have there? We got Eddie, Richard, Bill, and Dave. So is that our four? Is that our goats? Do you want to throw Chris Rock in there? I'm gonna say this. I am not. Chris Rock is another one that I feel like has had like two different careers, and I'm not a huge fan of Chris Rock. Um, I am a fan though. Don't get me wrong. You know what I mean? But he's not a goat to me personally. And in my personal opinion. Yeah, he had a really hot, you know, 90s, 2000s, the movies, stand up specials, you know what I'm saying? But I feel like Chris like cooled way off. Like his last like 5 movies. Death in a Funeral I thought was like really funny, because you had like a lot of different comedic elements in there. And Chris was kind of like the straight man there because his father, you know, had passed away. And in that movie, you had Tracy Morgan and you had uh, Martin Lawrence, who, it's an argument there. Is Martin a goat? Um, but I don't know if Chris Rock's later career is holding him up as a GOAT. You know what I mean? That top five movie was like super confusing. Um, to me personally, can barely remember parts of it. His last couple of comedy specials was just like people was just waiting to see what he was going to say about Will Smith. And Will Smith slapping the shit out of him. I mean, I I'm not going to go into the debate about that. But do you feel like his career recovered after that? Can you see Chris Rock and not think about Will Smith right now? I don't know. I feel like he hasn't really brought significant closure to that chapter, and I think it's kind of a little bit of a stain on his career. Not like a negative thing, but just like a bump where you see him and you think about something other than comedy. Getting slapped on stage, you might as well have been caught sleeping with a male midget prostitute or something like that, because it's the same kind of difference. It's like people are thinking about something other than comedy when they see you. Oh yeah, that's the dude. That's the male prostitute dude. Um, so I think it's an argument to be made there. Other people that people consider goats. I think there's an argument for Damon Wayans. Um, as far as like just goats of just comedy period. The TV shows, the movies, Blank Man, um, just some like really classic funny stuff that him and his whole family has done, in all honesty. You know what I mean? So I think there's an argument to be made there. Um, But one of the things I do want to talk about is that as black comedians, we mostly consider that as our top 4 or 5. You talk about Richard, Eddie, Dave, um, Bill, and a couple of other ones kind of float in and out. Kevin Hart, there's an argument there. Kevin Hart is still really young though, and I hope he doesn't make any more mistakes. That whole divorce and all of that stuff that went through that could have derailed him, but it didn't. And props to that dude. Um, but usually we talk about black comics when we talk about our goats. But if you're a true fan of comedy, there are some goats that like nobody talks about anymore. I mean, nobody goes back and talk about like Bob Hope or Don Rickles or or some of those people from back then. Like when I was growing up, Jerry Lewis was somebody that I watched like all the time. I used to love Jerry Lewis movies. A lot of this generation don't even know that he did the first Nutty Professor movie. People think, oh, that's something Eddie Murphy made up and wrote and did. And I'm like, no, 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 no. That's a remake of an old Jerry Lewis movie, where he was kind of a nerdy dude and made the formula and turned himself into a, handsome, debonair, dude that by the end of the movie, it was discovered that he, was actually the nerdy guy. So um, I feel like Jerry Lewis doesn't get his props. Um, as far as other white goats, I don't feel like Jim Carrey get mentioned enough. I mean, I don't know of any, great Jim Carrey specials. I've seen some Jim Carrey specials. I think he did one for Showtime. I think like maybe early in his career. That was really funny. I remember some good jokes being there. But his movie career, is stellar. As far as like the funny, Dumb and Dumber, and some of the movies that he made, man, like freaking hysterical. Will Ferrell is a comedy goat. You know what I'm saying? But not necessarily on stage. I don't know if Will even does stand up. Does Will Ferrell do stand up comedy? Can somebody kind of put that in the comments? Have you ever seen a Will Ferrell stand up special? I don't know. I know I haven't. Trying to see where I'm at time wise. Oh, here we go. Comments. There we go. Okay. All right. Well, whatever. But I just invite you guys to just think about other people that you've laughed at, over the years, and whether or not they would be comedy ghosts. Now, if we're gonna expand the criteria, and it's not just stand up, now I think there's a ton of names that you gotta, put in as comedy ghosts. Because now, if you're not considering just stand up, if you're considering body of work, now I think there's a lot of people that you gotta plug back in. I mean, at that point you can maybe even put somebody like Jamie Foxx in the run in, because while Jamie Foxx comedy specials were funny, I don't know of any classic jokes that resonates today. Like people still say, like Chris Rock, for example, people still say, "Oh, the big piece of chicken," or "I love black people, but I hate niggas." Like there's lines from Rock special that we still say. I don't know any lines from Jamie Foxx comedy specials that we still say today. You know what I'm saying? Like, and I rewatched a couple of his comedy specials like late last year, and I was surprised, how funny they were. Like, very funny dude. But like I said, I don't know if any of his jokes are necessarily, uh, transcendent across decades. I didn't necessarily hear anything like that. But for body of work though, when you talk about the stuff he's done in music, TV, a ton of acting, Academy Award winner, you know what I mean? I think there's an argument there that Jamie Foxx is a comedy goat, and now since the criteria is opened up, you can consider a lot of people. You can consider people that maybe even didn't do stand up, like would you consider Sherman Hemsley, Mr. George Jefferson? Like, would you consider him lightweight a comedy goat? Because everybody remember that character, and um, he went on to do, what was the preacher show? Uh, Amen, I believe. So he had like a long career in doing TV, that kind of transcended stand up. So would he be a comedy goat? I don't know. I think there's an argument there for a lot of different people, across cultures. Like, are there any people that you would consider from other cultures, like Spanish or Hispanic comedy goats? I mean, who's not going to say George Lopez? I mean, I think he's absolutely a comedy goat, for body of work and everything that he's done. A ton of specials, TV shows. But I never hear people say, "Oh, no, George Lopez is a comedy goat," and it's like, he kind of is. You know what I mean? If you consider body of work, um, there's a lot of people that I think you can probably shove onto that list. Um, there's some people that make even like comedy music. With Will Al Yankovic be a comedy goat? I don't know. I think that's kind of stretching it a little bit. Um, but I was just hoping to have a few comics pop on so that we can actually put together some of these lists. Because there's a lot of comics that people like that I got hip to late in life. Like, I didn't know who Mitch Hedgeberg was, but after listening to him, I was like, "Oh wow, this guy was a genius." As far as like some of his jokes. If guys don't know who Mitch Hedgeberg was, look up some of his stand-up material and check him out. Everybody loves George Carlin. Now, George Carlin, I will say, much like Richard Pryor, is somebody that extends across cultures, right? George Carlin is somebody that a lot of people will say, "Oh, that's definitely my comedy goat," and it could be black, white, Hispanic, whatever. Because George Carlin very much was a comedian that would fit in today's culture, like, very nicely. He was uh, more of a satirist, or a social commentary type comic, and he was going to tell you like it was. I actually have I've been my hobby on the side a little bit is to go to thrift stores and look in the old album bins for old comedy albums, and I was able to find actually a couple of old George Carlin albums that I've been listening to, and some very funny stuff, man. Not all of it was social commentary, but you know, some very funny, well thought out bits. Amazing writer. People say that, oh, I get on stage and I don't write. I just get up there and be funny. Nah, you should probably write. If you are a fan of George Carlin, then you definitely want to write. Um, it's been a minute since I used the sound effect. I want to try one. George Carlin is a comedy goat. What who can I say? Jerry Seinfeld is a comedy goat. Uh, who else can I say? Oh, what does this one do? Um, Mike Epps is a future comedy goat.
Awesome.
um, Tracy Morgan is a comedy goat. I like Tracy. Um, who are some other people that I like? Oh, I like Tony Baker. Tony Baker is a comedy goat. Um, a future comedy goat. And everything that Kev on stage is producing right now independently is going to eventually make him a comedy goat. Yeah, that's pretty cool. I actually just watched Kev on stage. If you guys don't know who he is, Kevin Fredericks, I believe is his last name. Um, uh, very funny comedian. A lot of people consider him like Christian or clean comedian. He's not really. He walks the edge, but um, he definitely does comedy for everybody. And he has a new series on Tubi. If you haven't seen it, it's called Safe Space. Probably one of the funniest short series I've ever seen. It's hilarious. He has a lot of social media creators from across the internet play these couples that are dealing with different issues, and Kev is actually the counselor, and every situation is just absolutely hilarious, man. So props to him. I hope that comes back for another year. I hope they can continue to do seasons of that. I actually had some ideas I want to pitch to him. So wish me luck. But props to Kev on stage for constantly producing unique and funny stuff. All right, I got to get used to where my sound effects are. What does this one do? Okay, I don't know why that. I got to get used to what these sound effects do. One of these changed my voice, and I'm gonna figure out which one that is because I can't stand listening to my voice sometimes. I do want to hear like different stuff. What does this do? All right, that'd be cool to kind of add some visual stuff, like a little man dancing or something. So be on the lookout for that. I'm gonna have some fun with this little thing, and as long as don't nobody take it from me or whatever. All right, I think this changes my voice. Voice, 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 voice. All right, whatever. All right, I think I put some echo in my voice. I didn't mean to do that. How about now? No, no, no. Space, space, space. All right. All right. But anyway, I'll play with this later. I probably should have played with this stuff before I logged on here. Um, so I want to, since I didn't get a lot of people to come on, like a lot of this stuff is just my opinion, and that's fine. You know what I mean? If you want to talk with me about my opinion on stuff, that's great. But I do want to hear your opinion as well. I also want to let you know, a lot of people that follow me. I won the World Series of Comedy this year, and a lot of people don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. Well, World Series of Comedy is a nationwide comedy contest that is ran by Joe Lowers, and uh, he has been doing this comedy contest for now. I think it's in the 15th or 16th year. Um, and what it does is it has comedians compete in different satellites across the country in different cities from the east to the west coast. Um, the majority of the year, I believe January through July or August. Um, every satellite, some months will have one satellite, some months will have two satellites. Every satellite invites somewhere around 40 to 50 comics to come there and compete to see who's going to win that particular satellite. Every comic that wins a satellite gets an automatic entry into the top 100 comics that compete for the title in Las Vegas in September, October. And when you go, not only are you competing in a comedy contest, but there are various seminars where you learn how to be a better comedian. Seminars about writing, about producing, about doing crowd work, about um, dealing with the business of comedy, how to do your taxes, like all kind of different seminars that teach you like a lot of the day to day business of being a comedian. You know, that's not advertised a lot, but it should be because a lot of comics think that, oh, I can get up on stage and tell 5 minutes a joke, so why am I not famous? Well, there's so much more that goes into it. So World Series of Comedy attempts to teach you that. And I know, maybe I should be trying to be more funny with this. Maybe I should be like telling jokes and stuff, but I'm really just trying to portray a message. Sign up is open right now. You can log on to uh, the World Series of Comedy.com and get sign up details there. Put a note in the comments, and I will send you the links personally. If you and some friends are going to sign up, I highly suggest you guys do that because if you refer people, I think there's a referral bonus where you can actually get your entry for free. A bit of advice though before you enter, um, make sure you have a good 5 minute video that is you centered in the video, not in like your living room or the kitchen or your backyard or something like that. You actually performing in front of a crowd, um, getting some good reaction. Um, 5 minutes. Make sure the sound is good. You don't need to put all your intro stuff in there. And now coming to the stage, this guy from cartoons and the bus stop and taking his garbage out every Tuesday. he's been on this and this and that. Now cut all of that out. Cut all of that out. Nobody wants to see that. They just want to see you perform, because they have to watch 500 tapes. So any introduction stuff, cut it off. Like literally start the video right from you grabbing the microphone. Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? You know, limit your crowd work. Don't be doing crowd work in your video. And make sure it's a hot 5 minutes with some nice laughs in there. And that's a good way to get selected for a satellite. Now, how do you get selected for a satellite? Well, because the emissions is open right now, you could literally pay one time and have access to several different satellites. So let me explain it like this: if there's 10 satellites, and let's say three of them are West Coast, four of them are Midwest, and three of them are East Coast, and you live in the Midwest, and you're like, well, I only want to do the four Midwest ones. Well, now is a perfect time to sign up because you can sign up, pay one fee, say I only want to be considered for Chicago, Cleveland, Tennessee, and Michigan, right? And they will only consider you for those satellites. Send your video, and you've only paid one fee, and you have access to four different satellites. It's by far the most economical way to do it. Um, Even if you only want to do satellite, or one satellite. Let's say you live in Detroit and you're like, oh, they're coming to the Detroit House of Comedy. I'll sign up for that satellite, and that way I don't have to travel, and I'll just do this one. Even if you only plan on doing one satellite, still sign up for multiple ones, because if you don't do well or you get sick or something happens and you can't compete, at least you have access to the other ones. Because what happens is when that satellite rolls around, you start getting emails. Hey, do you still want to be considered for this satellite? And you can say no. You know what? I don't want to be considered for this one. Just consider me for the one that I originally signed up for in Detroit. So you have a lot of different freedom as far as which satellites you decide to compete in and which ones you don't. You don't have to sign up for California if you don't live in California, right? So it's really cool the way they set it up because you can compete as much or as little as you like. Some people do all the satellites. I know some guys that out of 9 satellites will go to like 7 of them, and it could get expensive then because you have to pay for your own travel and hotel and all that stuff. You know what I mean? So if you want to do World Series of Comedy, like I said, now is a perfect time to sign up. They're going to be having Black Friday deals, New Year's, Christmas deals, stuff like that. But after the New Year, it's going to get a little expensive because you're going to have to pay per satellite. So if you want to do 3 satellites, you're going to have to pay the fee for all 3 satellites. Now, the one cool thing though is once you pay your fee to enter, that's also your fee for the finals in Las Vegas. So if you pay one fee, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you pay one fee to enter, let's say you want to do Detroit. I keep using Detroit when I probably should use Cleveland. They don't come to Cleveland; they come to Greater Cleveland. So anyway, but if you want to pay one fee, uh, be considered for that satellite, compete in that satellite, and that's it. That's fine, but you still don't have to necessarily pay the fee to go to Las Vegas. You're automatically entered into the Vegas finals. So now, if you didn't do well in the satellite, you're not competing for the title. Of course, you go, and only people that won or did well in the satellites are part of the top 100 comics. If you do go though, you'll compete on what's called a midnight show. They have a ton of different shows at the LA Comedy Club all that week where they pick like 10 or 12 comics to perform on that midnight show. So you still get some stage time. You still perform on the stage in Las Vegas. You still can, take pictures of yourself. You still get headshots. All of the stuff that everybody else gets, you're just not competing for the title. So I would highly suggest, if you are trying to become better as a comedian, sign up for World Series of Comedy and don't even think about the contest. The contest is a completely different thing. If you want to learn how to be a better comedian, sign up for the World Series of Comedy and just go meet a bunch of comedians. Their best day is their industry day, where they have a bunch of people from different comedy clubs, from management companies, from cruise ships, all kind of different things. Like literally, there's probably 50 to 100 different people there looking for comedians to compete in different stuff. America's Got Talent is there. I think a couple of people got picked to audition for America's Got Talent the last time I was there. Um, there's also entertainment companies that are looking for people to plug in now. Like a good friend of mine just got plugged into a TV show, like literally right after contest. Didn't win, but still got plugged into a comedy show. So that's the kind of opportunity that it's out there when you go. There's opportunities to do all kind of different stuff. So I would highly suggest considering going to World Series of Comedy if you haven't done it before, especially if you're a comedian that's serious about comedy and just check it out. Don't like I said, don't get into the contest. I know I won, and you're like, oh, well, he won, but he must be. Nah, I didn't even go expecting to win. In all honesty, I went to have fun and just to make a name for myself, and just compete. You know what I mean? I went to just develop relationships, and I made some great relationships, some great friends that I'll probably have for life. So go with that kind of attitude. Don't go with, oh, it's probably going to be political, and they're going to let some white dude win. I won. So, just go and have some fun. Um, as far as comedy goes, though, I should have put together a spreadsheet and a list. I do have one that I got off the internet, and I'm going to see if I can add that one, and then we'll just try to wrap up here. We're going to say, I'm going to grab this image, and we're going to talk about how they had everybody listed. Let me see if I can still find it here. Here we go. All right, so I don't know if you guys could see this. Let me see if I can make this a little bigger. This is a great list of comedy goats that somebody made online. And you, of course, have the S tier up here, the A, B, C, and D list comics. So I'm not going to go through all of these names, you know what I mean? And of course, there's some people up here that I'm like, okay, how are they S tier? But just because you don't know about their career doesn't necessarily mean they're not, quote unquote, a goat of comedy. You know what I mean? So some of these guys have done stuff as far as writing. Like maybe some of these guys have written like some major or great stuff. I'm trying to pull it up here on my other screen so I can see a bigger version of it because the one that I'm seeing is like really small on my screen. All right, so here we go. So I got a bigger version over here, and you can see here we got uh, Robin Williams. Man, who's this guy? Is that Soupy Sales or Mel Blanc? I'm not sure who that is. I gotta see who that black and white picture is. That's Mitch Hedberg right there with the long hair. You of course got George Carlin, Eddie Murphy. Oh, my man from Who's Got Jokes? Whose line it is it anyway? Crap, I can't think of his name. And there's Jim Carrey. Somebody consider Jim Carrey. Um, Richard Pryor, of course, is here. And then uh, 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 Pink Panther. Crap, why can't I think of his name? Come on, y'all. Somebody help me out. What is his name? Just smelled the dog fart. I hope he didn't just shit over here about me. Um, stop. I'm gonna let you guys stop in a minute. I'm just a wild and crazy guy. Why can't I think of his name? Martin. Um, Steve Martin. Yeah, Steve Martin. Okay. My bad, Steve. I love Steve Martin too, man. Can't believe it took me a second to think of his name. But then you got like some A-list comics here. They definitely got like Bernie Mac there. Chris Rock is in here. Patrice O'Neill, they got listed as an A comic, and this is what I was talking about. Patrice O'Neill is definitely a great comic, but has he done enough to be considered, a goat? You know what I mean? Maybe. They definitely got some good guys here. You got your B-list comics. They got Steve Harvey on the same level with Cat Williams. I don't know if that's warranted. And it's weird you don't start seeing females until uh, this B list as well, which I don't know if that's warranted. I don't know if I think I would put like a Carol Burnett or a Lucille Ball up in like that S to A tier. I think they deserve. There's some females that deserve to be listed a little bit higher than this. And then on sea level, wow, they got Kevin Hart on the same level with Amy girl. What's her name? Schumer. I Kevin Hart on the same level with Amy Schumer. Uh, I don't know if somebody probably needs to redo this particular list because I definitely don't. I definitely think Kevin Hart is on a higher level than Amy Schumer and Hannibal Buress and some of the guys here. Um, is that Burr right there? I think. Okay. And then they got they got uh uh come on Rob. Gary uh, uh well they got Ellen, they got come on, what is his name? Jesus Christ. It doesn't don't ever get old, guys. Um I don't know, man. But they got Dave Chappelle on the D level. That's crazy. They got Bill Cosby down here at D. They got Jerry Seinfeld. I kept wanting to call him Gary. That's why it wouldn't click for me. Jerry Seinfeld. They got CK Louis CK down on the D list. So yeah, this is definitely a screwy list here. Um, how would you guys redo this list? I'm gonna leave this up here for a second, and you guys tell me how would you redo this list because some of these guys are too high, and some of them are definitely too low. See if I can make it a little bit bigger here. Yeah, where is Bob Hope? Is Bob Hope on here? I'm not seeing Bob Hope on here, and I feel like he should be somewhere on here as well. I see Don Rickles. I see. I get no respect. Yeah, yeah. Now that I'm looking at this list, man, this list definitely needs to be redone. But what do you guys think? Comedy goats. Should there be more females on this list? Should there be more people that are not actually comedians on this list? Should you be on this list? If there's somebody local, or is there somebody that you really like for a minute? Should like a Andrew Dice Clay or somebody like that be on here? Guys that had like super high careers, but just kind of died out. Who else would you put on this list? Yeah, the more I'm looking at this list, the more I'm like, I don't like this list. But that's the whole reason why I downloaded it because I knew it was gonna, raise some eyebrows and cause some debates. So, um, you guys take a look at this list and check it in your heart and tell me if you think this list is ordered correctly. So I think that's probably good enough for discussion tonight. So what have we learned? We've learned that I have no friends and nobody loves me, and I'm gonna have to probably start doing these shows by myself. No, I'm just kidding. I just need to be better at contacting people before the show and letting them know that I want to do something. Also, we learned that goats have different categories. It's not just stand up that you can consider. You can consider body of work, and if you consider body of work, it could get really difficult to try to figure out who a goat of comedy is. Um, and if you want to become a coach yourself, you need to go and sign up for World Series of Comedy. I don't get any kickbacks or anything for that. It's just that I really thought that it helped me get my career moving and help me like kind of get going. Why am I not showing on the presentation? Oh, there I go. Okay. Um, So, and as far as that goes, I do have some bookings that I'm getting from World Series. A lot of people ask me all the time, "Hey, well, did that really work? Did that really get you some bookings?" Yeah, absolutely. I actually have several regional bookings that I got from doing well at World Series over the next couple of months in January and February. And I have some dates coming up in April that I got from some comedy clubs that I reached out to with my availables. I'm going to be down in Florida at the beginning of April, and we'll be doing something at the Comedy Catch, which I believe is also in Florida, towards the end of April. So I may just go down to Florida and just stay for the month of April. Um, Hopefully, I have a cruise or something I can fit in there, but we'll see. got to put it in the universe. So yeah, it's definitely getting me some work. It's getting me some name recognition. I've done some TV interviews. I've done some radio interviews. So don't crap on World Series of Comedy. If you're thinking about doing it, go ahead and do it. And this has been your boy Rob Coleman. Debating myself about the goats of comedy, man. And if you want me to continue to do Are You Serious, make sure to reach out to me if you want to be a part of the show. I'm going to skip December and come back in January. And I would like to come back with a comedy team at that point. So if you want to be part of the Are You Serious comedy team, reach out and let me know. And we'll start having debate shows probably in the new year. So this is Rob Coleman signing off, man. Thank you guys for listening. If it was just one of you, that's plenty. Because this is just a labor of love for me personally, and I just appreciate anybody that is vibing with me. So thank you guys again, and enjoy the rest of your night. I appreciate it.